But Brandon, let's close out the podcast doing what we do each and every week during football season, and it is make our picks for the top 25 games. Well, all the top 25 games, and then you and I pick one game outside of the top 25. You pick one, I pick one, and we kind of do that to give some love to teams outside the top 25. If you guys are keeping track at home, last week was a good one. We had 3 games that didn't count because they got canceled. Yeah. So basically, if they would have been wins, we would have all had the same thing. If they would have been losses, we would have all had the same losses. So nothing changes there. But I went 15-4. Brandon went 14-5. That brings our yearly totals to Ricky's at 56-8. Brandon is at 53-11. We're going to see if Brandon can catch up and maybe get me this week.
I've got to.
You're taking some chances this week. I like it, but I'm also taking some chances too.
Yeah,
and I should just play it safe and just make the same picks as you and just win out the rest of the year. But that wouldn't be fun.
No,
that would not be fun.
Don't be like that.
No
one
I'm
likes
not.
that guy.
I'm not, but it wouldn't be fun. But I will tell you, the last week, if I'm up, I'll probably do that.
No.
Because I want to win.
Well,
and I'm
maybe
a winner.
Maybe I won't talk to you anymore.
And I don't raise quitters and I don't raise losers, but woozers. I don't raise
no quitter, no loser.
I raise winners. But let's start off the first game. We're actually going to go with the Friday night game. It's weird saying Friday night football for the college ranks, but Penn State, Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. Who you going with, Brandon?
Well, Ricky, this past week, Illinois actually played a pretty good game.
Yeah, they gave me hope. How dare them give me hope?
Led the game against South Florida the entire game
right?
until, 2 minutes left to go?
Yep.
And then they give up a huge bomb.
Yep.
I think Illinois is going to be giving up a whole lot of bombs this week, and Penn State's getting the win.
Don't forget that fumble, too, where quarterback goes to do the read option. Do I give it? Do I give it? Do I take it? I'm going to give it. And the running back was not ready for it then.
Yeah, it was all
fumbled.
bad.
Yeah, it wasn't good at all.
At the end.
I'm going with Penn State. Although Penn State has not looked good, we are not Appalachian State, and we are going to get crushed in this one. And that's coming from someone who bleeds orange and blue. Next game, we've got Lane Kiffin and the Florida Atlantic Owls. Remember when they were going to beat Oklahoma?
I
Lincoln
don't.
Riley,
Sean might, though.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley does because he's Sean's picture on Twitter. But UCF going to host them. I'm going with UCF, not going with the upset. How about you?
You've got to go with UCF in this one. I don't see Florida Atlantic in the least bit coming close in this game.
And then our next game, we've got not Notre Dame. That's the next one after this. We've got Georgia, Missouri. Missouri broke your heart last week, beating Purdue, the team that was your non-top 25 pick of the week.
Well, Purdue tried to make a comeback in that one, but they just haven't gotten there yet. They have really struggled to start the season. But Missouri is not that good. Georgia is. The Bulldogs with the win.
And then the next one, Notre Dame. They are undefeated on the year. They'll be playing Wake Forest. Shocker that I'm going with ND because usually I don't go with ND, but how about you?
Well, here's what I'll say is that Notre Dame played a pretty darn good game against Vanderbilt. And in Vanderbilt was that team last year. We won Alabama. We won Alabama. Well, no, you didn't. Mm-hmm. And I think they were thinking the same thing probably this year, just not voicing the opinion of we want Notre Dame, we want Notre Dame, bring them on.
Well, you did hear what their head coach said in the offseason, right? When he was asked at SEC Media Days about going to South Bend, he goes, it's no problem. We play in the SEC.
Yeah, had no problem. Was not scared of Notre Dame or the Fighting Irish at all. But the Fighting Irish did a really good job. The defense, again, has continued to be, I think, the force for this team. While there's still questions kind of surrounding Brandon Wimbush and what he can do and what he will be, and they will be there probably for a good part of this season, Wimbush did a good job on the ground, 84 yards and a touchdown. This Notre Dame Fighting Irish team should be able to continue to roll this week as I'm taking them.
Well, and then coming up, the next one, Nebraska in Ann Arbor. What are you thinking about this one? The Wolverines or do the Cornhuskers get their first win of the year?
You know what? I don't think so. Nebraska has not looked good. Scott Frost is not happy with where this team is at, but I think he also realizes this is what he was coming into. The team still has a long ways to go. Michigan, while I don't think they've shown anything overwhelming for me yet to this point, I'm still going to go with the Wolverines.
There was part of me that wanted to pick Nebraska only because I'm not, as the year is going on, I'm not super high on the Wolverines like I was coming into the year, but this is one where Michigan should be able to get the win. Like if they don't, something catastrophically went wrong. They should be able to do business at home. Nebraska goes 0-3. Michigan goes to 3-1. Then another one. We've got Boston College into the top 25 now. They're going to be taking on Purdue in West Lafayette. I am going to go with the favorite in this one. I am going to go with Boston College and the running back of A.J. Dillon, like we talked about in the offseason and had that video that used our podcast in it talking about A.J. Dillon. I'm going with Dillon to have a big game in West Lafayette.
I got a special feeling about this one. I'm going with Purdue.
And that's the upset button because you can't see it this week.
I am going with the Boilermakers. I went with them last week, and they didn't get it done. I'm going with them this week. They're at home. They are going to get a couple of turnovers against Anthony Brown. They're not going to allow A.J. Dillon to run all over him. David Blau is a better quarterback than Sindelar. So let's see the David Blau show. Come on, Purdue. Come on, Purdue. Boiler up, baby. You've got to. Otherwise, I'm not picking you again for the rest of the season. We're done after this. I will break up with you.
Funny thing is I almost did this for my non-top 25 pick where I saw, hey, Baylor's playing Kansas. I should pick Baylor again. And I went, no, Ricky.
Don't do it.
They snake bit you once last week against Duke. Do not pick him again. But Brandon not taking the warning from Purdue, and he's going to go with them over the Boston College Eagles. Then one of the most interesting games in our pick'ems this week, we've got Alabama playing host to Texas A&M. Texas A&M was so close, a 2-point conversion away from forcing overtime against Clemson, and really could have beaten Clemson at home about 2 weeks ago. But they go into Tuscaloosa, Jimbo Fisher's first game against Alabama at Texas A&M. I almost picked the upset in this one. I'll be completely honest. But in the end, it's just one simple rule. You don't pick against Bama. And that's what I'm going with. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so, Brandon. Who you got?
I've got to go with the Crimson Tide as well. Tua has been so good. Jalen Hurts has been good when he's come in. Damian Harris has been great. Najee Harris has been outstanding. And let's not forget that defense that has been ruthless towards other teams. I think that Kellen Mond on the other side for A&M has been outstanding so far this season. He's looking like a great quarterback over there for Texas A&M, and Jimbo Fisher's going to have a lot of fun with that kid. But Kellen Mond, he hasn't turned the football over yet this season. He will this weekend.
I can't wait to see. Usually Alabama running backs have good games. I can't wait to see, like, Alabama runs for a touchdown. Travion Williams runs for a big touchdown, and then they just go back and forth trading big rushing touchdowns in this game. But I hope it's a good one with Texas A&M and Alabama. Then we move on, a game we thought was going to be a lot interesting, but it's probably not going to be interesting at all because Georgia Tech has not been a good team this year. But in Atlanta, Georgia, Clemson coming in 3-0, Georgia Tech 1-2. I probably would have picked the upset if Georgia Tech was the team we thought they would be, but they're not. Clemson, go Tigers.
Well, let's not forget, though, that Georgia Tech, in their two losses, yes, they lost 40 on the road to USF 49-38, still not that far away, and then 24-19 on the road at Pitt. I look more at the people they lost to than necessarily the score. Got to go with Clemson.
Then our next one.
But I will say, be wary because Clemson always has that one team that for some reason they just drop a goose egg against. Georgia Tech always feels like they could be that team just with how they run their offense. It's so different than what everyone else does, and it's just hard to game plan for it. So I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm picking Clemson, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Then the next three, these ones should be easy as well. You got Tulane going into Columbus, Ohio against Ohio State. Not a chance either one of us is picking Tulane, right? Going Ohio State all day, every day?
Yeah, Ohio State for sure.
Then the next one, I almost picked the Thundercats, Kansas State to beat West Virginia. But in Morgantown, Will Greer's looked great this year. I'm going with West Virginia to beat the Thundercats. What are you?
I'm right there with you, West Virginia.
And then the next two also I think should be easy too. Virginia Tech, they basically got kind of a week off because their game was canceled last week. They go into Norfolk, Virginia to play Old Dominion. That should be a win. And then Miami against Florida Atlantic. That should be another win. I believe you're going with the same thing, Virginia Tech, Miami.
I'm going with Virginia Tech, and last week Miami played Toledo. Toledo was putting up the most points,
highest scoring team
in college football, and Miami went in and said, we can put up a lot of points too, and beat them. So Miami.
And then another game where, okay, I know this is based off of 1 week. TCU loses to Ohio State. Texas looks really good against USC. I almost picked Texas to upset TCU in Austin. I can't do it, though. I got to go with TCU to beat the Longhorns.
I'm going to go with TCU, too. That defense last week, while it wasn't enough to be able to beat the Buckeyes.
I mean, the Buckeyes are a top 4 team.
It will be enough to beat the Longhorns.
Then moving on, a team that has just cracked the top 25 because you beat Wisconsin, and that's what you get. BYU is going to play a team that I'm probably going to say their name wrong. McNeese, one of the two. Doesn't matter. BYU going to win. Go Cougs.
Ricky, I've said this all the time. When you can't even click on their name in the ESPN app, you're not gonna win. So BYU.
Well, that team's not going to win.
That team certainly won't.
I didn't want people thinking that you were going to say BYU wasn't going to win.
No,
even though you just picked them.
McNeese will not win that game. If you're not clickable, you're not winning.
Then we've got Army going into Norman, Oklahoma to play the Sooners. This is one Sooners, 31.5-point favorites. I got to go with the Sooners to get the win over the Knights.
Yeah, Oklahoma all day.
Then another one. This is probably going to be a boring one because we're going to pick the favorite. But LSU, you beat Auburn. There's no chance you beat La Tech, right? No way you beat Louisiana Tech. Ha, that was a good joke. Tigers with the win.
The Battle of Louisiana. It's not going to be
a fun battle.
Much of a battle for LSU. So LSU gets the win.
And then one that'll get interesting. This is Mississippi State at Kentucky. Only a 10.5-point favorite for Mississippi State. And Kentucky, I'm going to say, a sneaky 3-0 team to start the year. Not many people expected them to beat Florida week 2. What are you thinking? Bulldogs and the Wildcats in Lexington, Kentucky.
Well, Ricky, I'll be honest with you. I saw what Kentucky players did to Reese Davis after he picked against them. They hung him out of a window. I don't want that to happen to me, so I'm just going to hide, make sure they can't find me, because I'm going Mississippi State.
Well, I'll tell you this, Big Blue Nation, Wildcat fans, you do not have to worry. You want to know why? Go get 'em, Tiger, Kentucky. I almost said Kansas. Kentucky, I'm going to do it again just because I want to. Oh, did my mic go off? No, my headphones just went off. Kentucky going to get the win. I will say this, we really got to get a new splitter here in the studio. Maybe some Patreon money would help us out there. But going to go Kentucky to beat the Bulldogs from Miss State. Then a fun one. I'm going to say fun one because it could be a lot of offense. Ryan Gosling and the Texas Tech Red Raiders going up against the Mullet and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Who are you picking?
Well, they lost, Texas Tech that is, lost to Ole Miss in their first game. They only scored 27 points. They lost by 20, 47-27. They weren't too happy about that. So then they went on to win 77-0 and 63-49, still giving up a lot of points in the 2 games that, really they played anyone. 27 and then 49. And I went against Oklahoma State last week and I picked Boise.
Yeah, I did
and
too.
I thought I was making a really good play there.
What's funny
I'm
is
not going to go
went
against
with
Oklahoma State again. I'm going with the Cowboys, and the Red Raiders are not going to be able to put up that many points. And we're going to continue to see Ryan Gosling be on the hot seat.
Brandon, who does Patrick Mahomes play for?
He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's what I thought. Oklahoma State in this one. Now, if Texas Tech had Patrick Mahomes still lacing it up for him, I might think about picking the Red Raiders, but no, they're not going to win. I went against the Cowboys last week as well, and I almost picked them, should have picked them. Not going to make that mistake again. This is going to be all business in the front, party in the back, going with the Mullet to get the win in Stillwater. Then what should be an easy game for Auburn, they come home after losing to LSU, and they play a team that not only has lost 2 straight, they play a team that is an SEC team in Arkansas that lost to North Texas last week. I got to go with Auburn.
If Auburn takes anything away from that game last week that they'll watch on film between Arkansas and North Texas, they're not going to be able to wait. They probably can't wait until they're able to get a punt return.
You know what might be worse, too? You know how you say if you're not clickable, you're not going to win the game. If I go to your ESPN page and the first article says Arkansas to start Story at quarterback against Auburn, and the picture ESPN uses is just a stock footage Getty Images picture of a football going through the uprights, chances are you're not going to win that game. So, I mean, Arkansas, it's really not looking good for you. You're an SEC team, too.
I've got to go with Auburn. Big bounce-back game this week and a big win.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same. Then one where, I think we're both hitting our buttons for this one, so I'll go ahead and hit mine first. Hoosiers going to get the win over the Spartans.
I've got a special feeling. I really do. And
we just talked him up, too, in the last segment.
And here's the thing, is that Michigan State seems to have all the talent in the world. All the guys returning offensively, defensively. I've talked about this since their last loss to Arizona State. They haven't been able to put it together. They've been asleep at the wheel. Indiana is going to sneak up and get the win.
And then the next game, because I'm going Indiana as well, the next one, we already previewed this one, Stanford and Oregon. So if you haven't checked out that preview, go ahead and check it out. And if it's actually the day that this picks video posted, it'll be out tomorrow. But Stanford going into Eugene, Oregon. Technically, Stanford is the favorite no matter which way you look at it, rankings or line. But Brandon, I got to go with the Oregon Ducks. They're going to be up 28-7 by the end of the first. They'll be up 35-10 by the end of halftime. They'll win the game 42. I'm going to go 42-17 Ducks on top in Eugene.
Ricky, Justin Herbert has done a really good job leading the Ducks so far this season. He needs to be a little bit more careful with some of his passes, not be so errant with his throws, but I think this kid has done an outstanding job. You look at Stanford, Bryce Love, is he going to play? And then if he does, is he 100% healthy? The defense has been less than stellar. And I've got a special feeling, so I'm going to go with the Oregon Ducks as well. The game's in Eugene. I think the Ducks win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means.
And then two more ranked games. We've got Wisconsin. We've got Iowa. This one's going to be in Iowa City, Iowa. Wisconsin's only a 3.5-point favorite, but I almost picked Iowa in this one. I can't go against the Badgers, even though I'll probably be wrong. I'm going to go Wisconsin over Iowa.
Before Saturday's game, Wisconsin, I believe, was a 7-point favorite. Saturday's game happens. They're now a 3.5-point favorite.
We'll see what happens as we get closer to Saturday.
They lost 24-21, did Wisconsin, to BYU at home. At home. Ricky, can you please let me know, remind me of what happened last season when Ohio State went in to play Iowa, an Iowa team that, who cares? It's Iowa. That's going to be an easy one. Can you remind me of what happened?
Just 55-24, Hawkeyes with the win.
I think Iowa's going to be able to get this game. It's at home. They're going to have there's going to be a lot of momentum on the side of Iowa because Wisconsin just lost. I think the Hawkeyes are going to feel really good about themselves right now that they could knock off Wisconsin again, and then they're going to have a real opportunity at the West in the Big Ten. They're really going to want this game. I know there's no Josh Jackson in the secondary. I get that. But this Iowa team, I think they're going to sneak up and get the Badgers.
He got a Josh Jackson, didn't he get a pick six this week against the Vikings in Green Bay? I think he got a pick six and did a Lambeau leap. But
I am not sure.
Funny thing, I'm looking at Iowa. If we go back 2016 Wisconsin game, they lost it in Madison, but it was 17-9, so that was a close one. And then actually 2015 they beat Wisconsin in Iowa, 10-6 was the final score. So this Iowa team likes to play ranked Big Ten teams close. So I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with the safe pick and go with Wisconsin. And then the last one from the top 25, we've got Washington on one side of this matchup, and the other team that they are playing, I got to click back a couple things because I was deep in Iowa territory. We've got Arizona State going into Washington. I would have probably picked Arizona State if they won last week, but now that you lose to San Diego State, I don't think you're going to beat Washington.
Yeah, I've got to go with Washington. They're at home. They won last week. I've got to go with the Huskies.
And then for I'm going to call it the non-top 25 pick of the week. Brandon, what's your non-top 25 pick of the week.
So this past weekend, we saw Florida State lose to Syracuse and just absolutely look horrible. And I know Willie Taggart came out and said, hey, give us a chance. We've only had a couple of games. Give us a chance. Stick with us. Don't jump off the bandwagon. Don't lose faith yet. Well, Florida State, you may not want to lose faith, but I'm still going to go with Northern Illinois in this one. I know it's on the road for Northern Illinois.
What up?
And I have not bought in. Now since the season has started, I'm not buying into Florida State right now.
Remember when I said, hey, doubt Willie Taggart and Florida State, and all those Florida State fans got mad at me? Yeah, who was right? This is where we steal the segment from the herd, where instead of when Colin was right, when Ricky was right. And this is where I go on like my 10-minute tangent about Florida State. I told you this was going to happen, and you all laughed at me. So now I'm going to stand here and
cursed at you.
I'm basically going to pull my Eric Cartman moment and go, na boo boo, I was right and you were wrong. But the game I'm going to go with is a team that got a big win last week over those Seminoles. I am going with Dino Babers and the Syracuse Orange to get the win at home against UConn this week. They're going to go to 4-0. They are going to be a team we talk about this year in the ACC. Will they win it? No, they won't, because they'll lose to Clemson. But they will go 4-0 after beating UConn this week. What a story for Syracuse to go 3-0 after beating Florida State this week.
And there you have it. The picks are in.
I thought you were going to say something about Syracuse, but
no,
this
I had
is where
nothing,
you guys
I had
come
nothing
in.
to say other than they're going to probably be doing it without their quarterback, Dungy, and we'll see. I mean, he was hurt in the game last week, had to come out. We'll see how serious the injury is going forward, but it was still good to see, because when we talked about the Orange at the beginning of the season, we talked about how offensively they should be better, they could be better. Well, they are better, and that is good to see for Syracuse.
And the thing that I am counting, if you're keeping track at home, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 chances for Brandon to try to get back. So if my math is correct, if Brandon in those 4 games goes 4-0 against me, you could technically jump one ahead of me.
I won't. I'll be wrong in all of them.
But there's a possibility that you can only jump like 3 up on me. Well, that'd be 2.
There's also a possibility that I could go down a lot.
Yeah, there's a possibility. So really, it's you're lucky that I picked like Indiana with you and Oregon with you, but there's a couple where the upset bug could be biting some teams this week. But this is where you guys come in. Make your picks down below in the comment section. Let us know what your upsets are. I almost wanted to press my upset button this week for the Clemson game, because it just makes sense with the Spider-Man Go Get 'em Tiger. If you can't tell, I'm really hooked on Spider-Man. I've been playing that video game like nonstop for the past 2 weeks. But make your picks down below. Let us know what your non-top 25 pick of the week is. Want to thank you guys. Tell us what you think about anything in the podcast that you listen to. Housekeeping here at the end. Make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. That's how you help support the channel. Make sure that you go get yourself an MVP t-shirt. That link is down below in the description. Or you can get it at mostvaluablepodcast.com, where you can get your MVP each and every day. Also, make sure to go over to iTunes and please give us a 5-star rating and let people know why this podcast is not a couple of good old boys. We talked about Auburn, but it wasn't even just an Auburn segment. It was with Wisconsin in there too. So we talked about many things, non-SEC. You got to let the people know, because they won't believe what we have to say. Want to thank you guys for listening on podcast services around the world. Want to thank you guys for listening on YouTube. We will be back next week with the video. Sorry for the inconvenience, but as always, have a good day, everybody.